In today's video, we're going to be discussing how raising the handle into impact is going to help you generate more clubhead speed. Make sure you check out this video. So, pre-impact here, handle up and left. And you surprise yourself how well you can make contact from there. Welcome back to the TruGolf Academy. You join me, Jon Watts, today in the studio. Today's video, as I mentioned there in the intro, is all going to be about creating more acceleration, creating more clubhead speed. And I'm going to demonstrate today's video with a driver, but this is actually still relevant as we go into the irons as well. And I will demonstrate that. I'll hit a mid-iron as well as the driver. And what we're going to be discussing is how the handle should actually be rising into impact, okay? And what that's going to do is help the clubhead accelerate to make sure we reach a maximum speed at and around impact. If this video does help, if you enjoy the content, hit the thumbs up, share it with as many golfers as you can. And if you're new to my channel, please do consider subscribing, at least 2 instructional videos a week. As well as that, the info for my social media just coming along the bottom of the screen, well worth checking out for lots of other golf content. Now, I've filmed a couple of videos around this topic, talking about this, and I'm not going to go too much into the science behind it, but as the handle starts to rise into impact, the club head will be accelerating, trying to catch up, because the object, the club, wants to actually go to vertical this way. So if the handle is moving up, the club head is actually going to be accelerating, trying to catch up to the top of the grip here, trying to accelerate itself more to the vertical. So as my handle rises, the club head's going to be accelerating. And we want that movement, and it's off-putting for some golfers because they're worried about, especially when we talk about then into the irons, they're worried about topping it, thinning it. Oh, I've got to hit down on the golf ball. And I have discussed this before, but our hands reach their lowest point of the golf swing at the last parallel position. So where the club is at last parallel to the ground, my hands are at their lowest point. You can see they're about middle of my right pocket here. That's my lowest point of my handle. My handle is now moving up and starting to move inwards, ideally, to create this arc shape that I want to see as well. It is the club head that's still swinging on a slightly downward path. So with an iron, if I move that ball a little bit further back in my stance and I play a driver, the club head is still swinging down, hence the downward angle of attack, even though my handle is actually moving a little bit up because I've got to down cock my wrists. If I don't let my wrists go, I'd miss the top of the golf ball completely. So the angle has to be lost at some stage. There's down cock allowing the club to still move on a downward path, even though my handle is moving up. Now with the driver, same thing's happening, it's just we're reaching that low point before we get to the golf ball because I've moved that ball more forwards in my stance. But the truth is still exactly the same, that my handle is moving up, and ideally up and inwards, okay? So a great drill for you to get this feeling is put your lead hand on the grip as normal, and then what I want you to do with your trail hand is actually put it on the graphite of the shaft. And I want you to try and get that sensation of actually allowing everything to come in line. So the right hand, the trail hand, to catch up with the lead hand this way. I didn't mean to hit the golf ball there, but it went pretty straight. So I'm allowing that trail hand to catch up to my lead hand here into impact. Now, I could do that and stand up this way, but I actually want to get the feeling that as my handle is rising, as my right hand catches up to my left shoulder is clearing out the way. So I'm trying to get the sensation, my lead hip and lead shoulder is extending, and I'm almost trying to feel like I stretch my lead side here. Obviously, as one side stretches, this side is adding a bit more side bend, side tilt. So a little bit more strain in here, my right obliques abdominals, but I'll feel like my left side, for me as a right-handed golfer, my lead side is actually extending, but I'm just trying to get that sensation of actually the handle, my lead hand is moving up, okay, into impact. It's that sensation. Now, as this handle moves up, you can see my lead shoulder is moving up and round my body, as is my lead leg, starting to extend. So this is really relevant for anyone who's not extending their lead side well enough. We don't want to extend our body here in the downswing, but we definitely want to extend our body here into impact. The lead side is extending, obviously my trail side is doing the opposite. There is a little bit of movement down towards the golf ball, but my focus here is going to be on the lead hand moving up into impact, and my body is actually having to rotate. And just doing that simple drill, and we could start to put some speed in here, where the trail hand is really catching up to the lead hand. And that feeling of my whole side of the body there really extending. So I'm just going to almost do a little sort of chippy swing really, just to try and get that feeling from about halfway down into impact. What we see with the real hard hitters is this movement happens enough that actually here on the downswing they've got their pressure moving into their lead side, but into impact their pressure actually starts to move backwards, and it's moving backwards because their body is really starting to extend to allow their handle to rise. And what we see with the long drive guys is they're hitting up on the ball by somewhere between 5 and 10 degrees. They're definitely creating an upward angle of attack. The handle is definitely rising into impact. And we're seeing the left leg extend so much that often the foot is actually completely airborne. Tee's a little on the low side, but I'm just going to chip one away, and I'm just going to try and get that feeling of allowing, and there's no reason why you couldn't hit it with the split hand grip, but I'm just going to try and get the feeling that my low point of my handle is here, and it's moving up and inwards, okay? And I wouldn't worry too much about the ball flight. I left that face obviously open there, but just getting that sensation of the handle moving up and inwards and my lead side starting to clear some space to allow that to happen. Let me go ahead and hit a normal full shot. I'm just going to get that feel. That's my low point of my handle. My handle's rising. That's helping me create this acceleration, this extra burst of speed into impact. So low point here. Handle is moving up and inwards. Just leaking a touch out right of target, but definitely got that sensation. Distance is okay, just lost a little bit without right of target, but definitely got that sensation of the handle moving up into impact, my lead side starting to extend through the golf ball. As I said, this is relevant with any golf club, so even if I grabbed here a mid-iron, a 7-iron, you know, I love people doing a drill of just getting that club to pre-impact like I did with the driver, a little pump movement, so this is the low point of the handle, and the feeling of the handle moving up into impact. They surprise themselves because they're trying to feel like they're hitting down on the golf ball, and actually obviously my lead side's extending, my handle's moving up even though the club is still swinging on the way down. So pre-impact here, handle up and left. And you surprise yourself how well you can make contact from there. And even though my handle is moving up, the club, if I measured that, is still swinging more on the way down. So this video is all about creating some extra burst of speed with the handle rising more into impact. As I said, the club head is actually trying to accelerate. As the grip moves up, the head is trying to accelerate so it becomes more in a line here, and that creates some little bit more speed. And that movement, that upward part of the handle, means my whole side of the body here, my lead side, will be extending into impact. As it extends, it's rotating open. So do you know what? Another burst of speed. We create speed from moving up, we create speed from rotation, and we create speed because we're trying to get the club to accelerate to match up with the handle. So there's a lot to be gained there and a lot to be learned when you look at the elite golfers and the long drive guys of how they can generate some speed and forces. Doing a little bit of practice time on that, obviously, before you take it to a course, just to get that sensation of that handle moving up into impact is really going to help your game. As I mentioned at the start, if you enjoy the content, hit the thumbs up, share it with as many golfers as you can. I'd love you guys to subscribe and make sure you check out lots of my other content.